Hi to whoever's joining. I doubt anyone joined right when the live is starting, but here we are. So, I was thinking I wanted to do a stream like Sunday at the start of the week or the week, the last week, but I couldn't. I had things to do, so here we are now. And yeah, I know my English is well, my English is not a native English. Well, I was thinking on the last stream I did, and I repeat a lot of things more than once because, well, no one's watching. So when someone joins, I repeat whatever I said. But I was thinking that maybe I should stop doing that because maybe if someone wants to watch the VOD and live whenever the live already ended, it's a bit weird to be repeating the same things over and over and over again just because someone wasn't there at the start of the live. So now I'm gonna try not to do that. So, yep, beyond the PSYOP, my intention with this stream is, well, speak about a lot of conspiracy theories about Israel and the world in general, but this time from a Zionist, from a Jewish perspective, because there's a lot of actual misinformation and a lot of people believing things, and the music just stopped. XD. Next song. Yeah. I don't know how, but the last stream has copyrighted music and it hasn't got any copyright strike, at least not for now, so that's a good thing. I'm gonna type some things in order to remember what I'm planning to say because otherwise I'm gonna forget about it. So I don't want to do spoilers, but there's one topic, two, three. These topics are the exact same topics that appear in the pictures on the thumbnail. So the third, fourth, five, vamos a hablar de conspiraciones. We're gonna talk about conspiracy theories. Some of them not so much of a conspiracy, if you ask me. Yeah, I already typed it. This I had it in my phone, but I wanted to have it in my computer now. No one's joining, and that's fine. I don't expect many people, no one, if we're being honest, to appear around here. When people came to these streams I made, they only last for a few minutes, an hour, así, a lo más, an hour maximum. Other thing I was thinking is that I could do these streams in Spanish and English at the same time, like I know both languages. So podría hacer los directos en español e inglés al mismo tiempo y así el público que me seguía de antes, que me conoce por hablar en español, me va a entender cuando hable en inglés, and the new public I could have, that I highly doubt, could understand what I say too if I talk in English and Spanish. The rare thing is that the accent in English and my accent in Spanish are two different ones, and I don't know why and how to fix it, but that's how things are. So there's nothing to do about it. The chat is working. Yeah, I think it is. So being Jewish gives you a immune system, allowing you to be at the edge of the farthest right without falling for the PSYOP of the Jews controlling the world, because that's not true. That's absolutely not true. And you don't even need to investigate a lot of obscure things to notice it. But people believe what they want to believe at the end of the day, so there's nothing we can do about it. And, well, this is just starting and I haven't said anything of value yet, but today, as I said in last stream, today I brought myself a beer, because alcohol is the liquid that improves your conversation skills, your confidence skills, and my English skills. So I'm gonna open this beer. I don't know if it's gonna sound in the microphone, so there it is. And it's just one because I don't want to get drunk. I just want to get a little bit of more confidence drinking this. Well, so I don't know if I could put something in the background so it's not just me speaking to the screen in this PNG. But I don't know what to put in the background. So, well, it doesn't matter. So, the thumbnail, I have it around here. I know you're not seeing the screen right now, but I want to show it. I don't know if it's a good idea. I think it is. So, carátulas, la carátula de este video, aquí la tengo. So, I'm gonna explain some of the things that appear in this thumbnail. And how can I... I'm gonna delete this. No, this one no, and this one either. How can I do this? Well, I'm gonna open a simple text in the text editor and I'm gonna put it there so you don't see my other notes about other personal things. So now I'm gonna show the screen. Yeah, there it is. This is a thumbnail of the video. Well, here you can see the partition plan approved by the United Nations, the USS Liberty ship, a newspaper announcing the assassination of Rabbi Kahanist, well, the Twin Towers of 9/11, the Bait Glows, the Glowies, Operation Paperclip, the United Nations, and the similarities between the Roman eagle logo and the eagle of the United States. Those are the images that appear in the thumbnail. If you don't get to see them, if you can read it, well, here it is. So I don't think it seems there's someone connected. Hi to whoever's joining. If you don't type in the chat, I cannot see who you are, but hi. So we're going to start this rampage of schizophrenic rambling about conspiracy theories with Operation Paperclip. This is a common knowledge thing. It's like es como un secreto a gritos. In English it will be like it's a screaming secret. I don't know how to translate that to English, but it's common knowledge. It's not something hidden. It's not something that people don't know about it. Operation Paperclip was this thing that the United States did, that they brought all these Nazi scientists, bright minds, and all of these people, all murderers and involved in the killing machine of the Nazi regime in Germany. They took them and brought it to the United States. They were in the NASA, the space program. They were and they are in the NASA, in the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the National Security Agency, and all of these government and hidden things. But this is not a secret anymore. Many people know that the United States took a bunch of Germans from Nazi Germany and brought it to the United States. So I want you to keep that in mind. Very of the people that is involved and are in high charges today in the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the NASA, all of these governmental agencies, there are literal Nazis that partake in the Nazi Germany, involved in the CIA, the NSA, and all of these governmental agencies in the United States. Shalom, Graisayan. Hi, bienvenido, hola. No sé ahora qué decir lo que está diciendo en inglés en español. La operación Paperclip es esta cosa que los estadounidenses tomaron un montón de científicos y mentes genias que participaron en la máquina asesina del régimen nazi en Alemania. Las tomaron y se las llevaron para Estados Unidos y ahora son parte de la CIA, el FBI, la National Security Agency, la NASA y toda esta agencia. Fueron y son parte hasta el día de hoy. They were and they still are part of it. So, we could say that there are literal Nazis involved in all the deep state secrets around the United States. I don't know if it's common knowledge to this point, but the MK Ultra project, there were Nazis involved in it. Of course, they clean up their papers, les limpiaron sus papeles, they give them a new identity, they give them a new name. They were US citizens, not anymore Germans. So the Mossad tried to bring to court all the people involved in the concentration camps and all of this. They tried to bring them to court, but in a year and from a year onwards, all of these people were given an immunity because there were so many years in between. El Mossad trató de llevar a todos los que participaron durante la Alemania nazi a la corte, pero llegado un momento les dieron una inmunidad porque ya había pasado mucho tiempo desde que ocurrieron los eventos hasta que se los llevaron a juicio. Dale con el inglés. Nada, no te preocupes. También inglés-español, ambas. So, the Mossad tried to kill all these Nazis that tried to hide from the court system, and they were given immunity. So, that's when all these stories happened, that the Mossad was going to Argentina, South America, Ecuador, y todos estos lugares, all these places, and the Mossad was assassinating all these Nazis after World War II because they were not being able to bring them to court. So it couldn't be made legally. So it was made, in quotes, illegal. They were assassinated in cold blood. Despite no matter whatever they were hiding, they were killed, except those who were given political immunity inside the United States and inside the government of the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union also brought a lot of these Nazis to his own government. Entonces el Mossad, como no pudo llevar a muchos de estos nazis a la corte, ahí fue cuando los empezaron a asesinar en Argentina, Cuba, Ecuador y todos estos países. En Europa también, Estados Unidos algunos también. Pero los que no pudieron eliminar son aquellos que les dieron una inmunidad y un respaldo gubernamental dentro del gobierno de los Estados Unidos y dentro del gobierno de la Unión Soviética. And that continues to this day. Many of the high churches, many of the high ranks in the CIA were literally former Nazis in Nazi Germany. So, that's the first conspiracy theory I wanted to talk about. The second one, we are going to skip a few years and we're going to get to 1984. We're going to talk about the partition plan by the United Nations. The partition plan to divide Israel into two and split it. So, to understand this, we first need to go even before the First World War. So, the British Empire was going to go at war with the Ottoman Empire, and there were a lot of Jews living inside the Ottoman Empire in the territories that later became Israel. So the Jews made a contract with the British. So if we Jews help the British to win against the Ottoman Empire, acting as spies, they were all the Jews living in the Ottoman Empire. Well, not all of them, but many of them were acting as spies to give the British armies all the information and all the tactics that they could have in order to win the war. Entonces, en la Primera Guerra Mundial, muchos judíos ayudaron al Imperio Británico a ganarle a los otomanos actuando como espías. Muchos de los judíos que vivían dentro de los territorios que luego pasaron a ser Israel. Entonces, we Jews helped the British in order to win First World War, and la recompensa por eso, the award for it, was the Declaration of Balfour. The deal was, so we helped you, now you're gonna help us in order to get our own country, Israel. So in the Declaration of Balfour was said that all of Israel was going to be for the Jews, and Jordan was going to be for the Arabs. That was the first partition plan. Even the Irgun opposed this partition plan at the beginning. That's why the logo of the Irgun has Jordan and Israel in the same map. Irgun, Lehi, and Haganah were many of the paramilitary groups defending the Jewish communities in the land of Israel before it became Israel. And the British never kept their word. They never kept it. After World War I ended, they acted as if they never did any contract with us. They acted as if the Declaration of Balfour never existed. And they started to play friendly with the Arabs. They limited Jewish immigration to the land. They helped the Arabs to develop their own military groups and all of this. So there was Haganah, the first paramilitary group that was mostly pacifist, and they wanted to get Israel by legal ways. And inside that group, there was a group of people that wasn't agreeing with that, and that's how Irgun was formed. And they were defending the Jewish communities with arms. They attacked and defended from the British and from the Arabs at the same time. A tiny group defending the kibbutz and the communities from the Arab attacks and the British attacks, trying to push the Jews out of the territories, and defending the Arabs when Jews were defending themselves. So later World War II started, and we all know what happened in World War II. The Nazis and the badly named Holocaust, because Holocaust is not a word that just invented to describe that event. There was some news journalists that came up with that word to describe the events in the Shoah, because we Jews call it Shoah, en español es el exterminio, en inglés sería como, in English it will be like the catastrophe, for a translation for the Shoah, not a Holocaust, because a Holocaust is a sacrifice to God, so it doesn't have any meaning. It's not what happened in World War II. World War II ended, the British mandate ended, and Jews came up to the United Nations to make the Declaration of Balfour a valid document. This was a legal document, and we wanted this document to be legally applied. But the United Nations came with another idea, that we're gonna split your land again. This time, you Jews, we're gonna have a tiny bit of land in the middle, and the Arabs will have a bigger land at the top and the bottom, and you're gonna get surrounded by Arabs. So, that was the first and the only thing that the United Nations did in favor of Israel. So every person that says that the United Nations invented Israel or gave Israel for free to the Jews is lying, because every single aspect of the United Nations, from their own words, is against Israel. They're always attacking Israel, calling us genocidal and all these lies, calling us that we're only an illegitimate state, that we're illegal, that we're practically ethnic cleansing, and all of these lies that they're not true. The United Nations says it all. So how do you think that the United Nations is going to be in favor of Israel saying all of these things? And so why the United Nations did it? Why the United Nations approved that partition plan? They knew what the Arab League wanted to do. They knew that the Arabs wouldn't allow a Jewish state to exist. They knew all of this. So they thought that giving Israel to the Jews will finally put an end to the Jewish question. They thought, the United Nations thought, that if an Israel is formed, surrounded by Arabs, dividing the land for an even tinier one, the Jews won't survive. You get all the Jews, put them in Israel, and the Arabs will make the deal and end with all of this. That's what they thought. They never expected Jews without an army, without any help from any surrounded countries, without any help from anyone. They never expected us to survive, even less to win. And we won. And that's one of the miracles, that it's a living proof that Israel belongs to us. So the partition plan was never a good thing, in quotes. It was never intended to be like it was. They never thought we would survive. That's the second point. If we go a few years later, in 1967, the 6 Days War that Israel had with Egypt, Jordan, I think, Lebanon, well, all the surrounded countries, of the same as always. So, and I'm gonna get a sip of alcohol before I continue. So, in 1967, in the middle of the 6 Days War, a spy ship from America, an American spy ship, came to the Israeli waters in the middle of a war. So what was their intention? What was their purpose? What was that ship doing there? Why it was there? And I'm talking about the USS Liberty. The USS Liberty was and is, well, not anymore because I think it was never reconstructed. The USS Liberty was a spy ship used by America to spy on Soviet allied countries. It was a spy ship disguised as a research vessel, but it was a spy ship. It was never a normal boat. It was a spy ship. So what is this spy ship doing in Israeli waters in the middle of a war with all several surrounded countries in the 6 Days War? And then we all know that Israel bombed that ship, and later they tried to excuse themselves, saying they thought it was an Egyptian ship and all these things, but that's the known story, because United States, it wasn't an ally of Israel before that. United States didn't have any connection with Israel before the 6 Days War. It wasn't until the end of the war in 1968 that the US got involved in Israel and proposed Israel to give back the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt in order to have peace, a peace that never came. Even that Egyptian leader got killed for it because he was making a deal with the Jews. So that was a spy ship. It wasn't an innocent ship that got mistakenly bombed by Israelis, and no, the poor Americans that got bombed by the Israelis, the evil Israel. No, it was a spy ship. What was doing there? Are you Sephardi? Hi, welcome to the stream. Yes, I'm Sephardi. I speak Spanish. Sí, hablo español. Hola. Shalom. As I was saying, the USS Liberty was a spy ship spying in Israeli waters in the middle of the 6 Days War. And it wasn't until the end of the war that the United States got finally involved in relationships formally with Israel. Before that, they tried to intervene behind the under the ¿cómo se dice alfombra en inglés? Well, they were trying to do things under the table, not formally. But after the USS Liberty incident and the end of the 6 Days War, the United States got involved formally with Israel because they saw that there was no way of spies getting in there and trying to subvert the country from outside. So now they're gonna try to do it from the inside. So, as I said, the other conspiracies that I talked about earlier were the Operation Paperclip. It's literal Nazis from Nazi Germany working on the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, the NASA, and all of these government organizations from the United States. These were way before. Then the United Nations Partition Plan. Their intention was not to form an Israel. Their intention was to the Arab League to finally get rid of the Jews that lived in Israel. That was their plan, and it failed horribly, for the good for us. And then the USS Liberty. Americans trying to infiltrate with spies in Israel. So now we're going to talk about a very particular political party that was one of the best ones, if not the best. I think it was the best, and sadly it got banned. So the USS Liberty incident happened. The United States got involved in Israel, giving money, giving military aid, giving all of these things as bravery so they can interfere in the internal politics of Israel. Israel, from there onwards, was no longer 100% independent country. Because from then onwards, they agreed to whatever the things they say in America. If the president in America says A, Israel says A, because they are afraid to lose the economic and military aid. And that's a mistake. A big one, if you ask me. Because we already saw that there was and there are literal Nazis in the US government, in the deep state, in the CIA, in the FBI, in all of this. So, there was born the Kah party, a party that was everyone was trying to silence. Kahanist formed the Jewish Defense League in America, a paramilitary organization trying to protect Jews from anti-Semitism from whatever means necessary. And then he came to Israel and formed a political party called Kah. That political party was the first attempt formally of bringing religious Zionism to the government of Israel. That was the first attempt to finally have religious laws, to finally have someone sincere talking about the issues in Israel, that Jews don't feel Jewish anymore, they feel Israeli. Jews don't practice Judaism anymore, they are secular atheists. And what makes you Jewish is Judaism, not blood. So Kahanist talked about all of these issues and all of these things that everyone else was afraid to talk about. Like, for example, the Jewish state is not compatible with a Western democracy. Jewish values are not compatible with Western values. Because what it really means in Judaism would be a monarchic theocracy. And of course, we're not going to have that until Mashiach comes, but we can advance some steps towards that goal. For example, many of the laws that were proposed in the current government and were not passed because of the jury, and we're gonna get there in a few more points. So, the Kah party was the first was the propulsion, the force that started to move this wheel of shifting the politics of Israel from a left wing to a highly right wing country. And the United States didn't like it. Nobody liked it. Kahanist was silenced by everyone. He wasn't allowed to speak in colleges, in television, in the radio. He wasn't allowed to any of these things. And despite of all of that, he still tried. He still did it. He still made speeches. He wrote books, and everyone was calling him a racist, a fascist, a Jewish Nazi, and all of these lies. They're all lies. None of that is true. If you read one of his books, you're gonna notice that any of that is true. None of that is true. But that was the campaign, to silence him, to mute him, to not let him speak, because they were afraid. They were afraid that maybe Israel could become a theocracy and stop being a liberal democracy. And the United States doesn't like that. So, the Kach party was banned. All the political parties in Israel, well, not all of them, but the majority of the political parties in Israel voted to outlaw the party, make it illegal. What kind of democracy is that, to outlaw a party because you don't like it? And then the party was labeled as a terrorist organization internationally in Israel and the United States. And even when the party was banned, Kahanist still wanted to go again. He brought lawyers and all of these experts in law to try to come with a new name for a new party and try to bypass these circumstances. And because this statistically, he came to have, if I remember correctly, 4 seats in the Knesset. I'm not so sure, but statistically he was going up. He was only going up. It was a speculation that he maybe could have 10 seats in the Knesset in the next election, in the next elections, if he was postulated to it. But sadly, his party got banned, and as he didn't surrender, he still wanted to make a party with his ideas. He was assassinated. The person who killed Kahanist had connections with the Al-Qaeda, this terrorist organization that did the 9/11, the terrorist attempt. His family got paid by them, and he had connections with them. We could say that Kahanist's assassination was literally the first Al-Qaeda terrorist attack before 9/11. And we all know by this point that 9/11 was an inside job, and Al-Qaeda was financed and formed by the United States. So the United States doesn't want Israel to be anything but a liberal democracy. They don't want Israel to becoming a theocratic state. They would hate that. And they were no longer an ally if that were to happen, because it's not of their convenience. It doesn't they don't want that. So they tried to silence him, they banned his party, and finally they assassinated it. And then came the next point that I'm going to talk about, 9/11, the terrorist attack of the September 11, no, espérate, que la fecha en inglés y la fecha en español es diferente. The date in English and the date in Spanish are different. So it's the 11th of September 2001. It was an inside job. I think it's no longer a secret. And why? Why did they do it? Of course, there's these neo-Nazis and anti-Semites that they say the Jews did it, that it was a Mossad job. Nah, that's a lie. And that's a lie because of the motive. What was the purpose? Why did they do it? After 9/11, it was made the Patriot Act, the law that allows the National Security Agency and the CIA to spy on every single device across the world in the name of fighting terrorism. Also, to cover up all the money that was stolen in the government, all of these things that I think I don't need to say it, I think we all have heard of it. But the main purpose was this, because America wasn't what is today before 9/11. You could pass the aduana without much trouble, and now you're scanned completely to the bones. All of that changed after 9/11. A simple, well, not so simple, but well, now jet fuel cannot ignite to a temperature to melt concrete and the structures of the building and all these things, but that would be getting too involved in 9/11 conspiracy theories. What I'm trying to talk about is this line of events that cross till today about the United States and its involvement in Israel. So they did this, and now they can spy on everyone and on every single one of us. They're doing it in this right moment. In this very moment, they're listening to everything. Of course, it's not like there's a FBI agent listening to everything you say. No, they record everything in databases, and they will look up the things that ring the bell and ring the alarms. If you say a word that's blacklisted, they're gonna look in it. But it's not like there's thousands of people literally hearing you live, no. But that's how things work now. And as I said at the beginning in the Operation Paperclip, there are Nazis involved in the United States government and the deep state, in the CIA and the government agencies. These are the glowies, because they glow in the dark. It's easy to spot one if you're attentive to what they say and how they act. Like, for example, someone that tried to talk to you in the internet on your account and try to encourage you to commit a terrorist act or things like this. That's obviously a glowy. So glowies are promoting anti-Semitism. The glowies are promoting Jew hatred. It was a common theory in far-right groups. Los brillantes. Buenas, shalom, bienvenido. Hi. Yes. So it was a common knowledge inside far right-wing groups that the glowies try to infiltrate these groups, and they try to encourage terrorist attacks, and they try to make you go kill someone, and in the name of the race war and all this. And also, the glowies are trying to encourage anti-Semitism and Jew hatred in all the circles. They infiltrate those circles and inject these ideas into them. So most people thought that was in order to make these groups more radicalized, in order to them committing terrorist acts, and the law enforcement could go after them, silence them, censor them, and forbid right-wing speech and right-wing groups. But they're trying so hard to push all of this Jew hatred and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, ideologies, dogmas, and all of these things. They're trying so hard. If you look today, if you search for Jew on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, in every single place, they're trying so hard to convince the entire world that the Jews are evil, that the Jews are demons, and that we're vampires, and all these conspiracy theories that came from centuries ago. It's the same PSYOP all over again, year to year, century to century. Before it was that the Jew, how can I say this? Well, the Jew stayed in ghettos in the Middle Ages in order to not be persecuted, and also because we weren't allowed to live inside the cities. It was illegal. If they saw you, they killed you. They exclude the Jews because they saw us as a condemned race, as a cursed people, because all these countries were inside the dogmas of Catholicism and Islam, so they believe all of these things. And they thought that we're trying to get a revenge on them. That's why these conspiracy theories came up about poisoning whales, killing Christian children in Pesach, and all this nonsense that doesn't have any sense. We don't eat blood; it's not kosher, even less human. So, and when Republican democracies came after the French Revolution, and yes, many Jews were involved in all of these historic events, but you have to separate the religious Jew and the secular Jew, because there were many that abandoned their Judaism and they acted against their own brothers, against their own Jewish brothers, killing them in order to protect this communism or whatever ideology they were following after they abandoned his own Judaism. And when Republican democracies came, most people were afraid that maybe now that the Jew can live among us, now that the Jew can postulate to governmental positions, they thought that the Jew were trying to climb up onto power to get a revenge and vengeance in all these people that committed all these atrocities toward us. But that wasn't true. Many of us were trying to be the best person that ever lived in that country. German Jews were trying to be the best German to ever lived. They never tried to overpower the country or any of those nonsense that the Nazis believed. And so they started this new wave of conspiracy theories that the Jew owned the world, that the Jew controlled the banks, that the Jew controlled the media, the newspapers, all of this. Those conspiracy theories were born out of this, that they were afraid that now that the Jew can be involved in politics and governmental positions, and that now that the Jew can live among all of the other people, the Jew is going to try to get a revenge on us. And then came all these conspiracy theories that still persist to this day. And many of those conspiracy theories were forgotten after World War II and all the atrocities that the Nazis did and all the campaigns that many Jewish organizations made in order to prevent further attacks of this type. They were futile. None of this works because that's not how you combat anti-Semitism. That's not how you end Jew hatred. But they tried their best in their own way. And now the globalists are pushing all of this nonsense that was forgotten. For example, this nonsense that the Jews eat Christian blood in Pesach to make matzah. That's absolutely insane. The well poisoning that the Jews are demons, vampires, and all these things. It's still a tiny, loud group, but they're loud and they're trying hard to convince as many people as they want to believe in all this. And it's the globalists, the CIA, the FBI that are the higher ranks in those organizations came from Nazi Germany with the Operation Paperclip, plus all the Arab and Muslim organizations that have billions of dollars in recourse. The Qatar and all these countries that have millions and are trying to push this narrative that the Jew is evil, that all the bad in the world is because it's the fault of the Jew. You fall today because you trembled in the street? Nah, it was the Jews. It rained, it's the Jews. It doesn't rain, the Jews. And all of this nonsense that doesn't make any sense. All of these shitty things that they say about us. All of these lies. They're pushing for it. It's the globalists and all of these organizations that are trying to infiltrate every school, every university, every newspaper, news media, theaters, movies, series, all of these places. And the US, in the next point, the United States was involved in October 7 too. They were involved. Biden gave Iran like $7 billion a week after October 7. Why was it? For what? What was the purpose of it? And before that, in 2023, when Israel was divided because of the judicial reform, that it's a necessary thing that has to occur, because in Israel, the deep state still to this day is all leftist and seculars. Even though the country has shifted to the right, it's still, the deep state is still the same people of the beginning. And they elect themselves. So the jury has to change, because when the prime minister tried to pass religious laws, they forbid them and they don't accept them. Because they don't want that. They want Israel to remain a secular democracy with degeneracy and all of these things. They don't want Israel to become a theocracy. And the United States doesn't want that either. It was a known thing that many of the protests that occur against the Netanyahu's government in 2023 and against the judicial reform were directly financed by the United States, by the Biden administration. And later, the Biden administration gave this $6 billion to Iran a week after October 7. And many other things that happened. The United States has never been an ally of Israel. Never. Despite how many times they say it and they repeat that Israel is our greatest ally, that message is not directed towards Americans. That message is not directed towards his own people. That message is directed to Jews. So we have to trust them. But that's a lie. Because ever since the United States is involved in Israel, all started with giving back the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt. Later, the Oslo Accords, giving back Gaza, helping them, giving them humanitarian aid, backing up and stopping the incursion in Lebanon. This deal with the hostages, all of this is American involvement, and our leaders in Israel doesn't do anything because they are afraid to lose the economic and military aid. And also because I'm sure many of that money came to its own pockets. So, the US was involved in October 7 directly. And also involved in against the judicial reform, because as I say, they don't want Israel to become anything but a Western democracy, a liberal democracy. And now we came to Trump, the last step. Many people believe Trump is an ally of Israel. They say that Trump is like, well, they say vulgar things that I'm not gonna say right now on the stream, but you know what I'm talking about, I think. That he's a dog of Israel and all of these things, and that's a lie. Let me get a sip of my alcohol, my beer, before continuing, because I'm getting thirsty. So, many Jews even had hope that Trump coming to office would help to fix the things that are wrong in Israel. But that's a lie. Again, another one. Because what was the first thing that Trump did? This hostage deal. That's awful. Giving up all these thousands of terrorists to get a few alive hostages in bad conditions and many of others dead. That's a good deal. We already did that one time, and among those liberated in that one time was the guy that was the head of the October 7 attack. So we're literally condemning us to another terrorist attack like the same or even worse, because of the fools in our government that don't want to lose that money. So Trump is not an ally. He already showed his true colors in all of this Israel stuff. The hostage deal. Not attacking Iran. He doesn't want Israel to hit Iran. He wants to get some peace deals. That's another one. I don't remember. There was a third one. But Trump is going to help in the construction of the temple. Trump is going to play friendly. Trump and the United States in general, because the next president that gets elected, it doesn't matter if it's him or another one, it's going to be the same. The United States, America, it's gonna play friendly. They're gonna help in the construction of the temple. They're gonna pretend to be a Mashiach, and then they're gonna stab us in the back, as is written. Because if you listen to everything I said, Jew hatred and anti-Semitism is spiking at a high level that was never seen before since the Second World War and before. The United States that plays an ally is not really an ally. It doesn't help Israel. The aid hurts Israel because we're not independent. And, Israel is really alone against the entire world. And it's written that there will come a day when all the nations of the world will declare war on Israel, and Jews are going to be persecuted across the globe. This time not only in Europe, this time not only in a country, this time around the entire globe. It's written. I don't remember the exact passage. I should have written that to read it on stream, but I don't get it. Also, I don't have it right now, but I'm sure it's in, I don't know if it's Yirmiyahu or Zechariah. I don't remember. And well, we're gonna be persecuted across the globe this time, and Israel is gonna get surrounded by enemy countries at the end of the days. And when Jerusalem is surrounded by armies, Mashiach will come to obliterate all our enemies and establish the Davidic kingdom in Israel and the world. So those are the conspiracy, in quotes, conspiracy theories I believed in about Israel and the United States' involvement in Israel. And I did this trying to clean up a bit, because there are many people that believe outrageous things, that, like, for example, that the United States is owned by Jews. That's a lie. I already told you everything about this. That's a very poor, honest lie, because I don't know how else to say it. But everything that the anti-Semites, everything that the Jew haters say is a lie, because it's a PSYOP. It's a psychological operation. Many of the things they say are true about the deep states, the governments, that they're pushing a narrative. They want to enslave the entire world. They want to push these cryptocurrencies, CBDC, the central bank digital currency. They want to chip us all. All these things are true. The lie is that it's the Jews, because we're not. It's not the Jews. Never has been. It has never been about that. It's a conglomerate of families that there have power since before the Middle Ages. The same people that were on top of every empire, the same people that were the feudal owners in the medieval ages, the same people that, all these elite families that dinner together, and the day after they are, in quotes, rivals in a democratic country. Of these people eat together and they play like they're enemies, and they're not. But none of them are Jews. I mean, there are some people with Jewish ancestry among them, but it's not the Jews. And those people that are with them are traitors that abandoned their Judaism and are their own brothers. So that was my intention with all this, trying to clear up a bit. I don't know how many people are gonna watch this, and I even less how many people are going to believe this, but this is the truth. So I'm gonna finish my beer that I haven't drank too much. I don't know if there's someone in the chat. I highly doubt it, but let's see. It seems there are 2 people. Hi, welcome, or hi to whoever's watching. I highly appreciate it, because XD. So I don't know if you want to ask me something. I'm gonna drink this, I'm gonna finish it, I'm gonna end the stream, because it's a waste of time not to doing it. The beer I'm drinking right now, it's pale ale, I think. I'm not so sure. I really like beer. Beer is one of my favorite drinks. Alcoholic drinks, of course. I rank it above any other kind of drink. Okay, this is the truth. No, what? Yeah, you're right. We could try to fight back, but I don't think that's an answer. I think the answer is to become more religious. No, not the beer. Yeah. I think the actual answer to surpass all these batches that we're gonna confront in a few years, it's to become more religious. Because whether we like it or not, Israel is not very religious. It could be much more religious than what it is today. Sí, digamos que todo lo que dices es verdad. Ahora que, mira, podría decirte que nos armemos en armas y confrontemos a la élite, pero eso no va a resolver nada. Va a llegar otro tipo y va a hacer lo mismo. Besides, it's written that all the countries of the world are going to declare war on Israel. It's something that has to happen in order for Mashiach to come. So, I don't think that rising in arms is an answer. I think the answer, unironically, is to become more religious and search for the answers. Of course, we're not going to only become religious and ignore all the things that are happening. Of course not. But for example, in Israel, I think there's a new coalition of parties that is forming, and that it's more religious Zionist aligned. We could vote for them, or try to make some little changes. For example, the Temple Mount is going to be on our hands sooner or later. That has to happen. And the temple is going to be rebuilt. And the daily sacrifices may come back, and all of these things. For example, there are many things that we Jews could do, and many of us are not doing right now. And in the religious aspect, I'm not any person with credit to say anything. I'm just a normal Jew. But for example, maybe there's coming a time in where we can make Pesach in the intended way with a lamb, and try to do the things as they were intended in the beginning. Try to go to the origin of all of the... Sí, lo de Vengaver es una pena, sí. Como quien yo voté a Vengaver y lo veo como que se tira para atrás y le lame los pies atrás. Exacto. Yeah. As the Torah says, don't put your trust in princes or in human beings, because from there's no salvation. No pongas tu confianza en príncipes ni en seres humanos, porque de ellos no viene la salvación. Los bancos en Israel quieren descontinuar el dinero en efectivo. Sí, también vi algo de eso. The CBDC, the central bank cryptocurrency, it's going to come whether we like it or not, and if the effective money is going to be outlawed, we're not going to be able to buy anything with cash. But for example, the people who are living outside of Israel, they could go to a rural area, a camp, and try to live there, cultivating their own food. Nadie habla de esto, sí, y son cosas súper importantes, de las cosas que se vienen y nadie las menciona porque, bueno, una porque todo el mundo está asustado de lo que les puedan hacer si lo dicen, y la otra es porque no tienen idea. People don't talk about these things because, one, they're scared of what could happen to them, and two, because they don't know shit about anything of this. Yeah. For example, if you live outside of Israel, I highly recommend to you, one, to do aliyah, or two, to buy a land in a rural area outside the cities, far away from everything, and try to live in a cabin in the woods, growing your own food, trying to be independent from the system before the CBDC is in legally installed, because At the beginning, all these cryptocurrencies and all of this slavery that they're going to impose on us with all these digital imprisonments, first it's going to be voluntarily and later it's going to be obligatory. So we have to go out before it's obligatory. We have to get out of all these places before the door closes. And the people in Israel has things even more complicated because Israel is one of the main, es una de las puntas de lanza en el avance tecnológico de todo esto. It's one of the pioneers in all of these technological advancements. So in Israel, I don't think there's like a land far away from everything without governmental surveillance. But if you become, it's written that these things are going to happen, and a global government and all of these things before Mashiach. But it's also written that if you come, if you face towards Elohim, and if you became more religious, there are things that you're going to be able to see in the scriptures, things that are going to be revealed, not to one person individually, but to collectives, and we're going to be able to see things that have never been seen before in the end of the times, and many things that we cannot say specifically what to do and what to because these things are just speculation in prophecies. We cannot say like we don't have like a itinerary with year by year when and how it's going to happen. We have broad ideas of how it's going to be, but not the exact same as it's going to happen. So well, if you have the opportunity to buy a land far away from everything and live in a cabin in the woods, I think that's a good idea. And there's always a window. There will be a window before the door closes where you're gonna have un pequeño lapso de tiempo, ¿cómo se dice esto en inglés? No sé, bueno. You're gonna have a tiny bit of time to grab your backpack with your things and get out before things get more crazy. Personalmente estoy jodido en ese aspecto. I think many of us are screwed in that aspect. But as I said, if we became more religious, there are things that are going to be shown to us as a collective, not as an individual, because of course the things that we could see in the near future when the end times come, these things have to be aligned with the Torah and Judaism, of course. If not, would be heresy. But I believe that becoming more religious is unironically the answer, because there's nothing impossible for Elohim, and he already saved us many times, and he said, it's written that when the curse and the blessing occurs to you, you're going to come back to me. So I know it sounds a bit suena un poco como, I don't know what word used to this, but it sounds like unreal to say something like we have to become more religious. But I actually believe that's the only answer we have. Because there's nothing impossible for our Elohim. Elohim Tzebaot, Elohim of the armies. Mika Mocha, who is like you among the Elohim. That's the only answer. Of course, there are actual things, physical things that we can do alongside becoming more religious. It's not one or the other. It has to be both at the same time. For example, I don't know, prepare a backpack with the bare things that you would have to use if you have to escape the city, for example. cómprate una carpa, bro, a tent, self-survival tools like an axe, a knife, some this prepper things, preparacionistas, ¿cómo se dice en inglés? How do you say this in English? I think it's prepper. I'm not so sure, but those kind of things, because there are times coming that many normies are not even aware of what's coming for us. And also there are things that have to happen. For example, all these countries that are now siding with our enemies, with Palestine, and with literal neo-Nazis wearing an Arab flag, all these countries are going to be judged. That's inevitable. They're going to be judged by they're going to get a divine punishment for all these things. That and the degeneracy, the manipulation of the mind of children, all of these things. Sodom and Gomorrah got punished for it, and modern countries are no exception. So, in Judaism, we know that a tzaddik can bring like una cobertura, like in English I don't know how to say it, but a tzaddik can cover a few population or even a country. For the merits of that tzaddik, a country can be not judged. So in the end of the times, we're going to be persecuted. We're going to be legally killed by the government, and everyone else are going to hate us because they were going to think that everything wrong in the world is because of us. When there are no more tzaddikim in these foreign countries, there's not going to be any excuse for them to not be judged. And these things have to happen. I know it sounds unreal, sounds like unbelievable that we're literally at ports of the end of the times. We can't say a date, of course, but I think it's no secret for people that are aware of many of these things that these times are coming. When la copa in inglés es cope, right? When the cope of the judgment is... no me acuerdo cómo se dice en inglés, pero en español es cuando la copa de la ira se rebalse, vendrá el juicio. And the judgment to all of these countries that are siding with the enemies of the chosen people, with the enemies of Israel, has to happen, and it's going to happen. And of course, we have to be prepared for that, to get out before of that, because there are going to be tzaddikim that are going to die, but in some other countries, maybe that's not the case, because if they all get out before the judgment, the country can be judged, and they get time to get out. But it's going to be so different in many places, depending if you're in the Galut, in Israel, in a country or in another. All depends on many things that we cannot be for certain and for sure of how these things are going to happen. And I'm getting out of ideas. Here is the script I had. These are the conspiracy theories that we aboard today. A brief recap. Operation Paperclip. Nazis in US government. UN partition plan. They thought we were going to be killed. USS Liberty. American spying on Israel. Kah banned and Kahanist assassination. An attempt of secular traitors and the United States to not allow Israel to become more religious. And not allowing Israel to become a theocratic state. 9/11 was an inside job for spying in the entire world. US and Israel relationships. US is not an ally. It's probably our biggest enemy. It's just that they're still playing friendly, for now. Glow is pushing Jew hatred across the globe. The US involvement in October 7 and Trump. This was the things that we talk about today. If you want to watch this VOD when the stream ends, I don't know. Let's see if someone's connected. There are 2 people connected. Yeah, I think it's the same 2. Really appreciate that because hear my schizophrenic rumbling. And the beer is out. So I don't know if you want to say something before I end this stream. I don't know if you want to ask something. Yeah, it's negative XP sounding in the background. There are some songs of him that I really like. Si no hay forma de organizarnos, no sirve nada lo que hacemos. Yeah, you're right, because we're not gonna go out of this alone. We have to... Tenemos que advertir y tratar de hacer que más gente entienda lo que se viene, lo que va a ocurrir. We have to try to convince more people about what's coming and trying to awaken the map, because many normies don't know anything about this. No sé, yo me pongo muy negativo cuando pienso en esto. Yeah, I understand that. Because it's an impotent feeling that you cannot do anything meaningful in order to surpass this. But, for example, there's a second Exodus. That's one of the many interpretations and theories. And in the same way that we were encampments in the exile from Egypt, in the Exodus from Egypt, in the end of times, we're going to be in another Exodus, encampments, in the Jewish way, but this time across the entire world. And those campaments are communities. So it's not one person alone, it's a community, a Jewish community that has to go in a campment mode in order to survive. And if you're not able to survive, and that's why becoming more religious is very important, we all know that the resurrection of the dead is coming when Mashiach came. So, when Mashiach come, I don't know how to say this in English. Cuando Mashiach venga, vamos a resucitar, a reinar en el reino davídico con Mashiach, of course. We're going to be resurrected to reign in the Davidic kingdom with Mashiach. Of course, and I'm not telling you to die, of course, but we have that hope. And I don't know if you guys want to say something. I already finished this beer, so I'm gonna wait a bit. If you wanna say something, I don't know. And I'm gonna finish this. This stream was a lot better than the last one. Mostly because of the script I have, because the other one didn't have anything like that. I should do it like that in next time. I wanna do streams more often, but I have things to do, so maybe tomorrow I do one again. I don't know. I'm gonna say it in Twitter if I do another stream. So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at Uncensored from Uncensored Zionist. Yep, and that's it. So thank you all for coming to the stream. Thank you all really appreciate that you're listening to me. I'm not talking alone. Well, it's speaking to a stream is like talking alone, and I do it often, so it's not too different. And well, that's it. You can watch the VOD of the stream if you want. If you didn't have the timing to watch it from the beginning. And that's it. Bye. Thanks to everyone who came to the stream. Shalom. Shabbat tov. Have a good week. We'll see each other in next stream if Elohim allows it. So, goodbye.